Hi, I'm Martwan Williams, and I'm here to tell you about a simple but very important way for you to create safer schools and safer communities. Today, I'm going to teach you 3 steps. The first thing I'm going to teach you is I'm going to teach you to see the signs. And then I'm going to teach you to gather the facts. And then I'm going to teach you how to act immediately. Now, after I teach you how to see, gather, and act, I'm going to teach you how to take those skills and apply them by using our anonymous reporting system, also known as our STOPit app. Each year, across the country, millions of students are hurting themselves, and they're even hurting others. How are they doing it? They're doing it through verbal means, through physical means, through digital means, or in extreme cases, lethal means. Sometimes these take on the form of fighting, or theft, or hate crimes, or even discrimination. As a result of those behaviors that we just mentioned, those at-risk youth and the victims on the receiving ends of those actions are experiencing high levels of emotional and physical injury and trauma. Sometimes they're experiencing mental health or wellness issues. And maybe they're even experiencing feelings of being unsafe. And in some cases, they're harming themselves, which ultimately leads to disrupted learning environments. And at its extreme, some students are even losing their lives to suicide or homicide. Now, I want to bring this all to life for us right now and really get us to understand some of these numbers that may not impact you personally. Some of them might, but I think it's important that we have a look at some of the things happening in schools across the country. 17% of teens say they have seriously considered taking their own life. 86% of kids who commit some violent act say that the root cause of it was because someone was bullying them or making fun of them. 17% of teens have harmed themselves at least once. 59% of students say they have been bullied or harassed online. And the big one, 750,000 victims of school violence annually. Now you may be saying, well, these numbers are pretty low if we are comparing it to 17% out of 100%. But I'll be honest with you, anything above 0 for any of these statistics is quite simply just too high. Now, in most of these acts, in the bullying, in the school shooting, in the harassment, in the cyberbullying, someone witnessed those acts and those behaviors, but they chose to do nothing. Instead, they chose to be what we call a bystander instead of an upstander. Now, let me share with you some facts to back this all up. I want to show you that students are actually seeing things, but they're making a choice not to do anything. Just look. 4 out of 5 teens who attempt suicide have given clear signals of their intention to others. What does that mean? That means that almost every single teenager who thinks about taking their own life and eventually moves to trying to take their own life has given a signal and maybe even said something to someone else. In 85% of bullying episodes, at least one peer was present, and 2 or more in 50% or more of those cases. So what does that mean? That means that when students are getting bullied, chances are there's someone there, and in some cases, there's more than one person there, and they're choosing not to say anything. 3 out of 4 students say that before they carried out their attack, that fight, the school shooting, the bullying, they spoke to someone first. And 80% of mass shootings are preventable due to the presence of early warning threat indicators. So basically what we're saying is there's a theme here, and I hope you're recognizing it. And the theme is that usually there's a warning sign given. Usually there's some sort of signal given, but somehow we're missing it. And what we're going to talk about today are ways for you to stop missing those moments. I want you to be able to see it and stop it. Everything we've talked about to this point is the reason why we are going to learn how to see the signs, why we're going to learn how to gather the facts, and why we're going to learn how to act immediately using our STOPit anonymous reporting system to help create safer and healthier school communities. Now, in order to see the signs, you need to know about what we call at-risk behaviors and at-risk actions. So again, step number 1 is see the signs. Now, what are at-risk behaviors? In short, they're negative behaviors, thoughts, or feelings, something that someone's thinking, something that someone is doing, something that they're feeling. And that thing they're doing or feeling or thinking is impacting them or others. For example, fighting, or maybe someone who's excessively angry, someone who's easily angry all the time or easily moved to anger, someone who makes threats, someone who is feeling hopeless. And just for the sake of a deeper example, let's take major changes in physical appearance as an example. Now, when I was in high school, people changed their hair all the time. One day they had red hair, one day they had blue hair, and maybe the next day they had no hair. It was just their way of expressing themselves. Now, did that negative behavior impact anyone? Was it a negative behavior actually? Not at all. It was just something they were doing to express themselves. No one was negatively impacted by that. But that's what I want us to focus on here. How is that behavior impacting them? How is it impacting us? Let's say a friend comes to school and they look completely different. And you ask them, hey, what's going on? I love your hair. I love your new style. And they say, well, I cut my hair or I changed my style because nobody cares. And you know what? In a couple of days, I won't even be around anymore for it to even matter. Do you see the difference between the student who comes to school with different hair just because they want to express themselves differently that day versus the student who comes to school and is in desperate need of help? That's what we're talking about when we talk about at-risk behaviors. Now, let's talk about at-risk actions. Now, these are uncharacteristic actions, and that's the word I want you to remember. Uncharacteristic actions that communicate that an individual may be struggling, or maybe what they're doing has some sort of impact on others or themselves. For example, giving away valuable possessions. Or maybe someone all of a sudden has a deep fascination with school shootings or weapons or suicide. The key thing you want to remember here is that this action is uncharacteristic. It means it's something completely out of norm for that person or that individual. Now, where do you think that you are going to see or hear the at-risk behaviors or actions? I'll give you a second to think about that. If you answered everywhere, you're 1000% correct. You can see the action and the behaviors any and everywhere, like the school bus or the hallway or classrooms or lunch or the gym. However, social media is the main source. It's the main place for you to observe and find most at-risk behaviors or actions. Now, here's the thing. Because most adults are not on social media, statistics tell us that youth and young adults are spending 9 hours a day on their phones. Adults are not spending that much time on social media, so that means you are the eyes and the ears on social media. If you see something out of the ordinary, if you hear something, you see a post that doesn't seem normal, you have to say, I'm going to see it and I am going to stop it. Now, we've talked about how to see the signs, and we talked about at-risk behaviors and actions. Now let's talk about the second step in this 3-step process, gathering the facts. Now, I know this might seem really simple to you, but when we're talking about gathering the facts, when you see at-risk behaviors and at-risk actions, you have to gather some very valuable information. Now, you're probably very familiar with these, like who, what, when, where, how, and why. I know this seems really simple, but I want to clarify each of these a little bit just to make sure we have a deep understanding. When we're talking about the who, we could be talking about essentially three different people. We could be talking about the offender, we could be talking about the victim, or we could even be talking about yourself. When we talk about the what is the action or the behavior or the concern? What thing are they going to do? What thing did they say was going to happen that we need to be reporting when we gather our information? The when, this is important. We need you to provide a date and a time for when you observe the at-risk behavior. Was it in the past or will it take place in the future? And this one's important because we don't want you to submit a tip for something that happened 3 days ago and we thought it happened today. So that's why the when is so important. The where, pretty obvious, right? Where is it going to take place? Where is it going to happen? Is it going to happen on campus? Is it going to happen outside of campus? Where is this event that you are concerned about going to take place? And then the how. How are they going to do this? Are they going to bring a weapon to school? Are they going to start a fight? Are they going to use social media? And lastly, the why. Why is this event taking place? Why is this action or behavior happening? Maybe it's because they want to get revenge. Someone bumped them in the hall, and as a result, they have decided that they are going to get them back during lunch. Just remember, the most important thing here is that you capture all the information, screenshots, photos, text, and that's the information you're gathering when you're getting all of this information. If you heard something, write it down. If you saw something, you can put it in your phone in the notes section. It's so important that all the information you receive, you have a way to store that information. Now, to review, step number 1, we talked about seeing the signs, and we talked about at-risk actions and behaviors and what to look for. Step number 2, we talked about gathering information, and we talked about who, what, where, when, how, and why. Now, let's talk about step number 3, how to act immediately. Now, there's different ways you can act immediately, and we're going to cover all of those. But the first way is you can obviously call 911. Second way, you can obviously talk to an adult. Or third, you can use our anonymous reporting system. Now, I want to ask you another question. When you see or hear at-risk behaviors or actions, when do you think you should act? If you said immediately, you're 1,000% right. You should act immediately when you hear or see at-risk behaviors or actions. Now, there's a few reasons, though, that stop us from acting immediately. And I don't think it's always because, hey, I don't care. But I do believe that maybe a couple of these reasons stop us from acting immediately. For example, if she was going to do it, why would she announce it? Maybe she just wants attention. And to that, I say this is a very common response. And often, this is an individual's way of asking for help. Or maybe you've said, I thought someone else was going to say something. And to that, I respond by saying, be an upstander. Don't assume that someone else is going to say something. What if they don't? Or maybe you've said, we all spoke to him, we all spoke to her, and he said he would never do it. My response to that is, again, this is a very common response to hide a plan or to continue a behavior, but in secret. And you should act immediately. How about this? I thought he would feel better in the morning. And to that, I say, but what if he doesn't? Don't take a chance. Act immediately. Or what about, I'm not sure if it's the right time to say anything. Again, I say, what if you're wrong? Let's not take any chances. You have to act immediately. And finally, he is too young to hurt himself. And my response to that is, unfortunately, there's no such thing as too young. There's no entry age for this. Anyone, any age, can hurt themselves or others. So you have to act immediately. Now, we've addressed some of the common reasons why students may not act immediately, but you're probably wondering, what about that big one, Martwan? That big one that prevents people from acting immediately. And it's that 6-letter word that we've all heard, and maybe we've even said it before. I don't want to be called a snitch. I've said it, you've said it, and we're going to talk about that right now. Now, when we talk about telling on someone versus helping someone, I want to make sure that we focus on two things here, two very important points. Point number one, your benefit versus their benefit. I can personally remember so many times in high school when I heard about a fight before it happened, or I heard about a bullying incident before it happened, and I said nothing because I thought if I said anything at all, I'd be called a snitch. I thought I was living by some teenage code, when in actuality, my understanding of telling on someone versus helping someone was completely flawed. And maybe you can relate. So, what am I trying to say here? When you are trying to get an individual in trouble, when you're trying to get revenge, when the benefit is for you, 100% you can be labeled a snitch or a traitor. But if you are trying to help someone, you're trying to protect someone for their benefit, the only label that can be used here is upstander, classmate, friend. Now, I want to take a pause here and make sure that you understand the difference between telling on someone and helping someone. I want you to think about examples that make this point clear for you, that there is a difference between telling on someone and helping someone. Now, acting immediately can help someone in huge ways because, hey, individuals want to be helped. They may not understand that they need it, they may not say it, and they may not even know how to get it. Also, no issue is too large or small because to the individual receiving the help, believe me when I tell you, it could mean a world of difference, and you could be saving a life or the lives of others. So, now you can see why it's important to act immediately and why it's important to help someone. And now you know the difference between telling on someone and helping someone. Now let's talk about, how do you act immediately? How do you take action? And in the event of an emergency, the first 3 numbers you probably ever memorized are 911. In the event of an emergency, you call 911. Or you can also talk to a trusted leader. A trusted leader is an adult who you feel completely comfortable talking to and trust that they will take you seriously and get the help that is needed. Maybe your trusted leader is on your school campus, like a principal or a teacher or a school psychologist or your coach or a mentor. But maybe that trusted leader is at home, like your mom, your dad, your grandma. Maybe that trusted leader is a religious leader. Now, everyone is not going to have the same trusted leader in mind, but what's key here is that you have an adult in your mind right now that you can go to, an adult in your mind that you know will 100% take you seriously and do something about what you're giving them. When you talk to these adults, what are you giving them? You're giving them the information that you've gathered, those texts, those photos. Remember the who, what, when, where, how, and why? That's the information that you're presenting these adults with. All right, now, you know how to act immediately. You can call 911, you can talk to a trusted leader, but there's also our STOPit anonymous reporting system. Because when you don't feel comfortable talking to a trusted leader, or when you want to stay anonymous, you need a resource. And that's what we're going to talk about right now, our STOPit anonymous reporting system. How does it work? 3 easy steps. Step number 1, you're going to submit a tip. You can do that one of 3 ways. You can do it on our mobile app, you can do it on the website, or you can call the hotline. After you submit a tip, we go to step number 2. Our management center is going to monitor that tip. And then step number 3, the school officials are going to receive that tip and they are going to act on it. Now, let's talk about step number 1, submitting a tip. One way to submit a tip is through our mobile app. It's a one-time download. Go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store and you type in STOPit app and there you have it. The app should pop right up. When you log into that app for the first time, you're going to hit the search and you're going to log in by searching for your school or inputting your school's access code. That access code is going to be given to you by your school. And you know what? That access code only needs to be entered one time. And then you're going to put all that information in that you gathered and then you're going to hit submit on that tip. Now, the second way you can submit a tip is through our website. The same information that we're gathering on the app, we're also going to gather on the website. So you go to stopitsolutions.com, you look for your school and input that access code that we talked about that's going to be provided by your school. You select the incident type and all that information you gathered, you put it in there and you hit submit. And the only thing here that's a little different is you're going to receive a passcode and a password so that if you want to go in and update that tip at any time, you can do so. Now, the third way, we got the mobile app, we got the website, but we also have the hotline. You can, around your school, look at the posters for your designated telephone hotline and call that number. And all that same information that you're going to provide on the website or on the mobile app, you're going to do it on our hotline. But this time, you're going to be actually talking to a live person. Now, step number 2 in this whole tip submission process involves our 24-hour, 7-day-a-week monitoring center. Basically, these are folks who are monitoring tips to make sure that they are being responded to and acted upon 24 hours, 7 days a week. So you never have to worry about if your tip got into the right hands or if something is actually going to be done about the tip you submitted. Guess what? If a tip gets submitted and we classify it as a life safety or a life-threatening tip, those same folks are going to make sure it gets escalated to the school officials, or if they're not available, 911. Step 3, officials are going to act on it. Once the tip threat is received, the school officials are going to respond. They're going to get a text, they're going to get an email, or they're going to get a phone call. Something, some way, we're going to reach them so that they can know you need to respond to this tip. So, there you have it again. Now you know how to use the app, now you know how to use the website, and now you know how to use the 24/7 telephone hotline. And remember, all submissions are 100% anonymous and can be submitted 24/7, no exceptions. Remember, you have the right to remain anonymous. This gives you complete peace of mind that when you submit an incident, when you submit something that can't go to 911 or couldn't go to your trusted leader, you can remain anonymous. You've probably heard it said before that with great power comes great responsibility. Well, with anonymity comes great responsibility. And we are trusting you to take this seriously. So please, no jokes and no pranks. Because any abuse could result in schools having to take disciplinary action, and we don't want that to happen. We want you to be free to use this system whenever you need it. Now, let's recap. To start, we talked about how to see the signs, right? We talked about the at-risk behaviors and the actions. And then step 2, we talked about how to gather the facts. It's the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, and the how. And then step 3, we talked about acting immediately by calling 911, talking to a trusted leader, or using the STOPit anonymous reporting system. Remember, you are the eyes and the ears of your school. Each day you talk to your friends, maybe on social media, or maybe through texting, or even in person. And to protect and help one another, we need you to report those at-risk behaviors and those at-risk actions because you can make a difference. You can save someone's life. You can change someone's life because you have the power to see it and stop it. Remember that story I told you in the beginning? Unfortunately, as much as I wish I could, I can't go back in time. But hopefully, I can change the future by equipping you with tools and skills to prevent these tragedies from ever happening again. And I hope today that you will personalize this message and that deep down you would know and believe that when you see it, you have the power to stop it. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you download the app. And if you have any questions, talk to your school officials and they'll be able to answer those questions for you.
Now, before you go, I want us to actually take a couple of seconds together right now to download the app. So, if you have your phone, go ahead and pull it out. If you have an Android, go to the Google Play Store. If you have an iPhone, go to the Apple App Store and type in STOPit app. Once you see that app, go ahead and hit download and download it right now. Now, I don't know about you, but I've got a lot of apps on my phone that I don't use. But this is one app that I want you to download and have just in case. Because remember, you have the power to see it and stop it.